Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP male interviews. Today I get to interview Maria. So welcome.
Hi.
So Maria, can you tell us your MBTI type and your op type as well?
Yes, so my MBTI type was INFJ. And then my OP type is double feminine, Se-Fi, consume, play, sleep, blessed.
So you are an ESFP in the objective personality system.
Yes, that's right.
You thought
Yeah.
you were an INFJ before.
I did. It was crazy. Like I was really convinced, like like crazy convinced.
And when you learned that you were an ESFP, what did you think? How did you feel?
It was actually a really funny story because I was in the middle of one of the watch parties, the OP watch parties, and because I've got my notifications synced onto my laptop. So when the notification came up, I had like the type was just there, and everyone was in the middle of a conversation, and I was like, okay. And then I didn't say anything for like 20 whole minutes because I was just like trying to silently process, but like still in the middle of like a social gathering. So it was just really weird. I think I was just in shock the first time.
Gotcha. And then now, how do you feel now that you've had time to, process it?
I felt good. I really thought I was gonna feel like horrible. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to get over this, but I actually feel good. I think this is probably the best thing that could happen to me, to be honest.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's go over your parts then. Your first function is extrovert sensing, but it's feminine. So how do you experience it? And would you say you have a pretty bad memory because it's feminine and you tend to forget the details and the facts?
Very, very bad memory. Like this is one of the reasons that I thought I was lead and I because I just have trouble like remembering details and like just being aware of what's going on around me. It just feels like everything is like floating around me. Like I'm not conscious of it. Like I'm very, very not conscious of the SE. So it just feels like everything is just going on around me. I think the only time that I'm aware of the sensory is like when I fall asleep, and then I can see things that I've probably processed during the day that I didn't realize I'd been processing. That's probably how I experience it. It's like it's happening in the background, but not really aware that it's happening.
Gotcha. Now, because your extrovert sensing is feminine, you still like to gather things, like a lot of things. Shan likes to describe it as like maybe Pinterest pins, like you like to collect Pinterest pins or something, or so what kind of stuff do you like to gather?
This is one of the things that I struggle with because I know well, like from the type, I know I'm like lead gather and I SE and stuff like that, but I find it like I'm not really aware. I haven't really been paying attention to what I'm actually gathering.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the thing that I gather the most is probably just like um music festival, and then just kind of like I think people is something that I gather a lot, and like I think because I used to consider myself as like an observer, so I kind of like people watch a lot. So I think I'm gathering like information about like what people are doing, little subtle hints, like little movements and stuff like that. So I think that's one of the things that I gather is just like people watching, and just like music is probably something that I gather a lot. And then like TV shows and stuff like that. I gather stuff like that.
Your second function is introvert feeling. It's masculine. How do you experience masculine introvert feeling? Like talk about your personal values.
This is another thing that I'm struggling with because I don't know what my personal values like. Um, but I can see how kind of like I am FI in the sense that I'm responsible for my feelings. I'm responsible for like, the vibes that are going on around me, and I'm responsible to move that. But it's very hard for me to identify specifically something that I feel like I'm strongly attached to. Um, I think I think I think that might be due to kind of like being sleep third. It's kind of like something that happens again unconsciously that I don't even realize is happening. But like I guess probably things that I would say of value to me is probably like family and like friends and stuff like that. But that's the only thing that I can identify. Other than that, I find it really hard to know, be able to tell somebody what I like. I think I just noticed that I like this thing, I guess. It's very hard to explain.
Maybe for you, it's such a savior state that it's so automatic that you never even thought about it. Like I think you know it like subconsciously, but like if you were to tell people about it, you're like, ah, that's kind of like I just do it so naturally that I can't explain it.
Probably, yeah. I think probably from an outside perspective, from other people looking at me, I guess they'd be able to tell when I'm like in a happy state or like not in a happy state. But for me, it's just, I guess, like you said, it's unconscious. Like it just happens, and I'm not really paying attention to that.
Well, let me give you some example. Maybe that will help. Uh, so my top 5 values is freedom, growth, authenticity, honesty, and courage. So I always try to live my life based on those values. And I don't care about the other values. So if someone has an extrovert feeling and they try to enforce their values on me, I'm like, you know what? F you. I'm gonna follow my values. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so what do you have any specific values that you tend to adhere to personally that
Okay. Yeah. I mean, now that you say it like that, I think probably personal growth is definitely my biggest value. Honesty is definitely something that I value as well. Like I said, like friends and family, like I really love my friends and family. And then knowledge and like wisdom, stuff like that. Those are the things that are jumping out. But yeah, if I had to say like my top one, it'd probably be like personal growth and stuff like that.
So, since we're in this topic of introvert feeling and personal growth and whatnot, I want to jump over. So, instead of, I wanted to ask you about SF consume, but I'll ask you about that later. I want to jump to your NF sleep because
Okay.
your NF sleep is double masculine. So, you're masculine NI and masculine FI.
Yeah.
And what I noticed that for people that has the same function stack as you, so ESFPs, ISFPs, INTJs, and ENTJs, I noticed that with that NF sleep, you guys tend to have a personal code or mantra that you tend to follow, or at least the ones that really thought it out would have one. Um, so I'll give you a few examples and let me know if you have like some kind of mantra that you'd like to adhere to. I've heard many words to describe it. You know, mantra's one of them. Personal code is a big one.
Mhm.
So I've interviewed an INTJ before who was an NIFI, and he said that his personal code is live life according to yourself, which is a DI kind of message, right?
Mhm.
But then there's Jocko Willink, who's also an ESFP like you, and his personal code is discipline equals freedom, which I think is a very good growth mindset kind of mantra. Um, so another one I've heard is I want to live my life to have consistent long-term happiness. Okay, so if anything makes your happiness makes you unhappy long term, then you're not going to do it. Okay, so
Mhm.
um, do you have any mantra yourself that you adhere to or you follow?
Yeah, I guess I do actually. Now that you give me some examples, I'm like really big into quotes, so I can find a quote that like's really like meaningful to me, and then I'll probably like chew over that quote for years and years to come. So I do have a few quotes that I live by. I actually have one of them tattooed on my arm. So that quote is, it reads, "The carousel never stops turning." And basically what that means is just like life just keeps moving and going. So like you can either like do nothing and then like get left behind, or you can just kind of go with it and roll with it. So I guess that's one of my mantras.
What can you say
Or
that? Can you say that quote again? I just missed it.
yeah, the carousel never stops turning.
Okay, the carousel never stops
Yeah.
spinning.
Yeah, basically means that just like life just goes on, it just carries on no matter what's happening or what you feel or what's going on, it just keeps going. So you just have to kind of go with it, and yeah, it just keeps moving forward.
What do you mean? Just go with it? Like just go with the flow, or what is?
Not necessarily go with the flow. It's kind of like, because it's very easy for me to get kind of like stuck in what's going on for me and what I'm going through. And so when you've kind of processed all that and then you come out of it and you realize actually like the world has moved on without you, while you're kind of sitting there kind of like being self-indulgent or whatever it is that's going on for you. So it's kind of just a reminder for me to say, okay, I need to take some time obviously to process, but also not to spend too long kind of like dwelling on stuff, because the world, I'm going to wake up and the world is just it's going to have moved on without me. So just kind of like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if I'm explaining this properly.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you're blast last, so it's gonna be hard, but no, I get what you're saying. Because there are people who do tend to dwell forever, and life has moved on, and you've been left behind, and
Yeah.
and that's a good quote, actually. That's a good one. I like how
Yeah.
you already had it ready too. You had it tattooed and everything. So you definitely had that, that NF sleep personal code and mantra. You definitely had it ready already. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think because like I spent so long like just overthinking things and just going round and round the same problems all over again, like over and over again. So it's just a reminder for me when I'm stuck in a cycle where I'm just going around and round in circles, just to kind of take myself out of my own head for a while and just kind of rejoin the world. And sometimes that really helps me just to kind of feel better, gives me a bit of better perspective, I guess.
I think what I like about your personal code is its growth mindset. So when you said that, if you overdwell on something, that's probably your introvert feeling, and you're like just drowning in your emotions, right? And you said no, you need to get out of that and move on, because life will pass you by. And when you say when you move on, that's essentially blast. Like let's get something done, let's play and let's blast, right? So
Yeah.
so it's a growth mindset kind of quote that you put in there. Maybe you were already aware that you were not getting as much done as you should have been, and
Yeah. And also I think it was just another way for me to remind myself that like the world doesn't revolve around my problems. Like if you step outside of yourself for long enough, you'll see that there's a whole world out there that you're just like missing because you're just so consumed with the self. So it's just a way for me to kind of step outside of myself, give myself perspective and think, okay, there are other ways of seeing this and other perspectives. It's not just what's going on in here. So it's just kind of, yeah, that kind
yeah,
of mantra.
that's very double decider. You're thinking about, yeah, you were all in yourself first, and then you realize, oh my god, this is too much. Get over yourself. Let's help other people instead. Let's
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, that's good.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're so balanced with that because you're a double decider. Um, yeah, my girlfriend's an INTJ, right? She was officially typed as an NIFI, and
Oh, cool.
I noticed that she also had a mantra. I was like, what? You already had it ready? So it seems like you guys like that are like this function stack already have something like prepared, like a code that you've already thought about. Like for her, it's what is it? Um, discomfort over resentment. That's her thing. So
Oh, cool. What does that mean?
like you get in a situation where it's uncomfortable, makes you feel like crap, makes you feel like shit, but it's the right thing to do, and if you don't do it, you'll feel resentful later on. So
Oh.
you should do it because even if it doesn't make you feel good, because it's the right thing to do. uh
So
yeah.
it sounds like another like DI thing. It's kind of like stepping outside of yourself in a way, I guess, or kind of putting yourself to one
Well,
side in a
it
way.
sounds like a blast last thing. She's blast last like you, so so it seems like there is that common theme there where
Yeah.
step out of yourself, get over yourself. Let's do something that makes the FI panic a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Let's make him sweat a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. All right, that's good stuff. Um, since we're in the topic of the NF sleep, let's talk about your NI. Your masculine NI, it's fourth,
Yeah.
but it's masculine. So because usually when function is masculine, even though it's fourth, you can see it.
Yes.
So tell me what you can see with your masculine NI and how you're using it, or how you're not using it, but you're aware that you should be using it.
So yeah, so this is probably the function that I'm conscious of the most, and it's just always running. It's like I can, when I'm in like that NI state, it's like I can really see and imagine what my life is going to be like, and I can imagine like the places I'm going to go, the things I'm going to do, like the steps I'm going to take, kind of thing. So I'm very very aware of where I'm going, and I'm very, because it's masculine, it's like it's non-movable. It's like I have to keep doing this thing, I have to keep going on this path, kind of thing. But on the other hand, it can get quite like anxiety provoking, especially if like I have this I guess, insight, or I'm imagining like the worst case scenario, it just becomes like a very anxious state where I'm just like panicking, and it's probably not the right understanding that I have. It's probably like a really immature understanding. So I get a lot of anxiety when I'm like imagining the worst case scenario. So it's like, it's a bit up and down with how I feel.
Can you imagine the INTJs? They're like looking at the worst case scenario all day long because it's the first function, and that's why they're so scared of
Yeah.
chaos. Uh,
Yeah.
but so the thing is, you are chaos. You're an ESFP, right? So yeah, you see the worst case scenario, but you can already see the chaos. So how do you feel about that? Like, does that still bother you, knowing that you know really what's coming? You know?
Yeah, it's like this is another reason why I thought I was leader night, because like you said, I'm very aware of the chaos, and it's not like I have a very chaotic life. It's not like the standard Myers-Briggs type indicator type ESFP who's like really wild and adventurous. Like I'm not that kind of ESFP, like I'm not crazy. So it's like I'm, I'm bound by certain parameters and restrictions. Like I can like control myself to a certain extent, but it's just, I think in terms of the chaos, it's more like options for me. It's more like I have a really hard time sticking to one thing. I'm quite fickle. I can't get started, obviously, because of Blast because I need to know more, first of all, before I can actually make a move. So it's more about like me not refining my options and me being afraid of like refining my options, as opposed to there being lots of stuff that's happening chaotically, that mess everywhere that I'm leaving around, if that makes sense.
It does. That's a very interesting take on on your relationship with chaos. I
Yeah.
did notice that certain ESFPs, even though they're chaotic, they tend to be conservative. It's kind of a weird paradox that I've seen at times.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to put it. I'm very conservative. Like it's not like crazy out there type stuff, but yeah, I would say my chaos is quite conservative.
Yeah,
The mess that movie, yeah.
it's weird. I wonder if it's like the masculine NI that's making you do that. Like one of the famous actress, Jessica Alba, is an ESFP, right? And she's
Yeah.
pretty conservative for an ESFP. So I'm like, and I've seen that like there are certain ESFPs that tend to be on the conservative side. So I wonder if that's a masculine NI thing, because I think she's also like, I'm not sure. I'm not. You know, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not 100% sure. I just remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think it might be my masculine eye, because it's like I do want to narrow down and I do want to be in control, but I freak out. It depends. I guess it depends what it is, but it's like for certain things, like I don't want to do like boring, mundane stuff. So it's like when it comes to narrowing down on like boring, everyday chores type mundane stuff, that's when I have a really hard time with the chaos stuff. That's when you can see like my environment is quite chaotic in terms of like leaving stuff around and stuff. So it's kind of restricted, but there is chaos there.
Uh, Earlier you said you were kind of fickle. So what do you mean you're kind of fickle? Like in what sense?
I think so. Like this is more evident in like my relationships, because it's like I change my mind a lot with like relationships. I'm like, oh, but what if this person is better for me? What if this person is better for me? It's like I find it really hard to kind of like settle down on one person because it's like, but what if they're not the right person? What if there's someone out there who's better? So it's like I'm changing my mind a lot, and I don't want to be. It's like when I think about settling down on like one person, it's like it freaks me out, because I'm like, okay, what if I change my mind? What if I get bored? What if that kind of anxiety? So it's like little stuff like that in different areas of my life where I'm quite fickle.
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. As an EP, I can relate. But so maybe that's also your tester, because I had an ENFP friend who, when it comes to dating too, she was like the most serial dater. Like she's had so many boyfriends, which she was just like, and she didn't just want to have like, and she didn't just date. She wanted to like date every single race too. Like she was like she's white, but she's dated like every race. She's dated like black, white, Asian, like everything. And
Wow.
and then within those categories, she also wanted to date like different variety. Like for Asian, she wanted to date like Chinese, Korean. For there's like Hispanic in there. There's like different white races, like French, whatever. And she just like,
Yeah.
and she like I was looking at her pattern. I was like, you've never had a boyfriend longer than like 10 months. Like it's like, so and and I
I
wonder
think
that.
that's so cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, no, I was just saying that's so cool.
Yeah, and then it seems like it's a tester thing, like a tester. Like if you're like an EP and you're a tester, then you're more likely to like have this urge to be like a super serial dater. Do you relate to that? Would you say?
100%. It's like being in an ice cream like store. There's like different flavors, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm only gonna know which one I actually like once I test them all. But so it's like I do have this urge in me to want to test different things to what like in that capacity. So it's like, yeah, 100% relate to that. But it's a bit weird for me because I actually don't have a long history of like serial dating. I've only ever dated like 3 people seriously, but I think that's a cultural thing. So it's like I have the need in me, but I've been bound and restricted by like my culture and stuff like that. So, but I do know that I have the urge and the need, and I feel like I'm only going to be settled. I'm only going to feel okay once I feel like I've had in like I've tested. I've tested, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you use the ice cream analogy because my friend also used the same analogy. Like, how do you know which flavor you like until you try
Yeah,
them all?
exactly. Like, how can I'm only young. Like, how am I supposed to know which one I like? I don't know.
Yeah, my friend's in a weird situation though because she's now, I think she's now in her 40s now. I think she's 40 now actually, and I think the boat has sailed for like that chance
Oh
of having a
no.
family. So I think I think you I think there's a downside to that because she did want it she did want to settle down and find a guy to have kids with, but I don't think she can have kids now because she's 40 now, right? And it's like
Oh yeah, I can imagine. But I mean, I've prepared for such an eventuality, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like with when it comes to like other people, I'm a little bit less like I'm a little bit less I'm a little bit more reluctant to restrict myself. But it's like, I don't need another guy to have a baby. There's options, you know what I mean? Like, so if I wanted to have a kid, I could have a kid. I don't have to wait so that is not my biggest concern. I think it's just literally who I'm going to share my life with. That is my worry. It's like I don't know, and I'm never going to know until I actually try. But it's like the kid thing. I can have a kid anyway. Like, there's different ways. I can adopt. There's IVF. Sperm donation. That's a thing. So it's like I'm not really worried about that part.
fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I think for my friend, I think maybe she wanted her partner to be the biological father also, and whatnot, and she's looking for a soulmate. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't think, like, knowing her, I don't think so. Because of that urge to be a serial dater. Like I know so many like serial dater. Like I have friends that are like serial daters, and yeah,
I definitely have the propensity to be a serial dater. I can see it in myself.
yeah. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
I'm curious what would happen if, hmm, yeah, if they went the other route and they dated long term. Would it be bad? Would it be good? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious what would happen. Like if just but well, you are an EP, so you are gathering. I guess for you, you're gathering like dudes.
well, not actually, not like actively. It's not like I have a
I
long
mean,
list of.
you would like to, but
But it's like but I'm happy just observing from afar. That's another thing as well. Like, I'm happy. I don't need to actually get involved with the person. I'm happy just like observing from afar. I think that's another thing that I mean about the people watching, because I'm like paying attention to what people are doing, how people behave, and I'm seeing like, okay, this is not the type of person that I want to be around because they behave like this and this. So it's like I'm gathering by like observing, but not necessarily actually. Although I would like to test, but again,
does that bother you that you're just observing? You're not like part of the part of the action,
it does. But I mean, it's like it's how I was brought up. It's like it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's like how I was brought up. It's like it's hard for me to do that because it's like there's all these like cultural restrictions and stuff like that.
Fair enough. Yeah, your cultural influences and whatnot. So that
Yeah.
that's kind of
So it's a bit like a push and pull thing. It does bother me.
okay. That would suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I feel like especially when you're young, you gotta get that out of your system. Like you can't like
I think so.
yeah, like maybe by the time you're like early or mid 30s, you should like get your shit together. But like in your 20s, no way. You gotta.
Exactly. Yeah, like I'm still young. It's got loads of time. I just feel like I've got loads of time.
Well, I
I'm not
mean,
in any rush.
the IJs are like stupid about this. Like, remember, I don't know if you heard Dave saying this before, but he said that he got married when he was like 21 or something.
Oh, I can't imagine. Like, I don't know anything.
Well, he got divorced, right? So, and then he said that like it was stupid because in your 20s you should not be
Yeah,
narrowing things down. You should be gathering in your 20s.
right.
So he said that was stupid. He's like, if you have I forgot what he said, but I think he said something like, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend in your 20s, just break up with them and go find someone else. Because like you need to be like you need to be gathering at that point, and then your 30s, that's when you can like seriously think about
Yeah.
it.
No, I 100% agree. Because at this point, I feel like because I'm such at a young age, like I'm gonna change so much within the next 5 or 6 years. So I'm gonna be constantly changing. Like there's no way I can stick with the same partner and there not be a conflict between who I was when I met them and who I am now. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is just gonna be hard. It's just gonna be really hard.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the ESFPs in general, or ESTPs, like you guys are in the right path in your 20s. I think the problem is when you don't hit the brakes by the time you get to your 30s. That's when the problem like comes along. Because that in your 30s you need to go flip and you need to be an IJ, right? Like
Yeah.
the 20s is the time to be an EP, and the 30s is when you start becoming an IJ essentially. So um, I think you need to like mentally prepare yourself for that flip, and
Yeah.
you need to be okay with it. Because even if you logically understand it, like emotionally, if you don't accept it or like want it, then that is also the problem. So how do you feel about
Yeah.
that? Like knowing that that's like the right thing to do, like to not like mess up your life is 20s. Yeah, you can drown your saviors. It's all good, but 30s you need to like flip the switch. How do you feel about that?
I feel two ways about it. So on the one hand, it's like don't control me, bro. Like I'll do everything in my own time. Like I want to do everything in my own time, kind of thing. And I don't want people to tell me when I should be doing this, that, or the other. So it's like on the one hand, yes, like let me do things in my own time. But on the other hand, I think I've grown up around a lot of NTs. Like most of the people in my life are NTs. So it's like that message has been like drilled into me from such a young age. It's like it's just one of those things that I know is just a part of life. So it's like there is both of those parts of me. It's like it is what it is. Like you just have to, that's just the way it goes. I definitely don't see myself being that 35-year-old, like partying in the club and sewing my wild oats. But at the same time, yeah, it's kind of like I don't, there is that anxiety about people telling me what I should be doing
Yeah.
and when I should be doing it. So it's kind of both.
Okay. Well, even if people don't tell you that kind of stuff, just knowing that that's the people who don't stop doing that in their 30s, fuck up their life. Knowing that information, so not because someone else told you what to do, but because you know that this is what's going to happen to an ESF, any EP, whether that be your type or my type. Get to your 30s, you're still like gathering shit, you're still like chaotic, you haven't narrowed anything down, and you completely like fuck up your life. You have nothing to show for. You built nothing. Like, how do you, from that perspective, how do you feel about like narrowing things down? Because
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to be one of those people. And you're right, like logically I'm aware, like I know how that looks, and I definitely don't want to be one of those people. I think I've slowly put things in place, so I might not and have to end up being one of those kind of like on the top of the scale type of people. But obviously with
yeah,
blast last, it's a little bit, there's always going to be that like difference between somebody who's kind of like a little bit higher in blast. But yeah, I don't see myself going in that direction just because of the way I've set things up already. And again, I think that's down to having a lot of NTs around who I've basically been encouraged and like motivated to make sure that I think in an NT way. I'm pretty lucky in that sense because I feel like if I had the kind of parents who let me, do anything I wanted, I feel like I definitely could have gone in that direction. But Yeah, luckily I didn't. I had a lot of NTs in my life. People who were like really serious about not messing up your life.
Right, right. Well, the bad thing about those INTJs, those anti-INTJs you're talking about, is they also don't have a life. No offense, because they narrow down so quickly that they don't have a life. Like it's like, so what do you? What's your life experience been like? Oh, I just work. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
that's also bad, right? Like, you know, like I think Dave was talking
100%.
about, like he has like neighbors that are like INTJs, and they're now financially free at 50, and they're now learning how to skateboard at 50 in like their
Oh.
under cul-de-sac or some shit, which is like embarrassing. 50-year-old wearing like an elbow pad, knee pad, and you're on a
Oh
skateboard and a
gosh.
helmet. Like you look so like pathetic, right? But like, so like no offense to any 50-year-old trying to learn how to skateboard now, but you know, I'm just saying like
Yeah.
so I think I think you are doing the right thing in your 20s. Um, I feel like there should be like a. I think the best way to do it is like a transitional period. So one of the hardest thing for you as an ESFP is planning, even though you have NI fourth. But I feel like you do have to plan your life, not because someone else told you to do so, but for your own for your own sanity and for your own personal growth. Um, so let's say your 20s, you're supposed to be gathering stuff. In your 30s, you're supposed to be organizing, getting your life, you know, building something. What would a transitional period look like for you, where you're like you're starting to like lower the amount of gathering and upping up the organizing? Like what would that look like for you? Like, you know.
Yeah. So I feel like it's a bit weird because for me it's like one of the reasons why I type myself wrong is because there's always been a lot of pressure for me to plan. So I've always been like forced forced to plan my life and to make sure I stay organized. I'm not saying that I'm bad at it, I'm good at it, and I'm not saying that there's like things that I didn't let slip, but like I've always been encouraged and forced to plan. So it's like I'm already on that path. I think for me the journey has been finding that balance and not doing it too much one way and not swinging too far the other way, because it's like you said with the INTJs or the INTJs, it's like they don't have a life, which is very, very true. I think for me there was always this side of me, this other half of me that was like, the SF is like that just wanted to have fun, that just wanted to not do anything, just wanted to kind of chill and relax and stuff like that. So it's like that part of me was unconscious, and then there was this kind of like this constant being in a demon state of NT. So I've always been on that path. I think it's just now that I know that I'm like an ESFP, it's just like making sure that I allow that SF side of me, I guess, to come out guilt-free and shame-free, but also ensuring that I do spend time focusing on the NT and kind of like and kind of like honing that in, if that makes sense. So for me, that transitional period, it's like there's always been both of those parts in my life playing being like interchanging, but it's more about kind of resolving those sides of me so that I'm not feeling guilty and ashamed of the SF, but I'm also making sure that I'm not trying to force myself to do things in a way that like my INTJ counterparts or ENTJ counterparts are naturally better at. So it's more about balance. I don't know if that probably didn't answer your question.
It kind of did. I mean, in a way, the bad thing about what they're doing is they're just projecting their saviors on you. So I feel like those INTJs and ENTJ family members that you have or friends that is kind of pushing that onto you would be better role models if they worked on their demons as well. So in a way, because you feel inspired when someone is working on something that's super hard for them, and they're really like doing their best, and they get to the point of either functional use of it or competent use of it. So I feel like if you had a friend or family member that is one of those types and they're working on their SF, then wouldn't that inspire you to work in your NT? Because you see them they're like, oh my god, this person's really like struggling to do something fun. It's kind of weird, right? How do you don't know how to have fun? Like what the hell? But like, but they're trying their best. So for you, you then you feel like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go try my best to anti-blast.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so
Yeah.
since we're on the topic of anti-blast, I want to ask you. So this is your fourth function, your blast last. This is gonna fourth animal, sorry, and this is what you're gonna have the hardest. You're gonna have the most trouble with. Now, I'm just curious if you've given any thought on how you can purposely practice it. So I'll give you some examples, okay, of like anti-blast, and then you can tell me if you've done anything like close to that or something similar to that. Okay.
Okay.
So I notice people with anti-blast, they love to draw diagrams and charts and shit, and like, um, like there's a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective um, Person or something. Have you read that book?
I haven't read it, but I know of it.
Okay, so anyways, it's like they have he has like a chart. It's like a box, and within that box there's 4 boxes. So like an IJ box, they're obsessed with like this damn boxes. And then and then on like the top left corner, he on the box he has it says urgent and important. Okay.
I know what you're talking about, the priority management grid.
Yeah, and then top right
Yeah.
is urgent. I mean, no,
Not
important but
important.
not urgent. Not no, it's important but not urgent. And then
Yeah.
bottom left is urgent but not important, and bottom right is not urgent, not important, right? So that's like
Yeah.
an example of a box, and you're supposed to like stick your activities within those boxes, right?
Yeah.
And then Robert Kiyosaki has like one of those stupid boxes too, right? This time for money, left side is trade time for money, right side is make money work for you, and then he has like 4 boxes also, and then and then each of the box, like let's say in the top right corner, there's own a property, and then the property your house can like you can rent it out and will make money for you, or you can have an investment or a big business and that can make money for you. But on the left side, you have a job that trades time for money, or you have a business where the business owns your time. So so all those like IJs, they have like a box, and then within the box they have more boxes. Even OP is like that, right? They have like IJ, EP, you know, uh, IP and whatnot. So like so they all have boxes, and then within the boxes there's like 4 quadrants, and it's all the same. They just created this. You have the capability of doing something like this also, whether you want to do it or not, or makes you even cringe to think about doing it. Uh, it's another story. But you have anti-blast. Have you ever thought of doing something like this, like creating your own like concepts that you're gonna blast to people that's gonna help their life?
I mean, this is okay. First, can I answer your question in 2 parts? Because I think one of the things that I'm realizing is that there's nothing new in the sun, under the sun. It's very rare. I feel like we're at a point in like evolution where we've pretty much kind of like discovered a lot of the things that we discover. I think at this point it's like when people, especially for me who's like a blast, it's like when I'm coming to like life realizations, it's stuff that other people have already discovered, but that I'm just kind of like now realizing that actually this works for me. So it's like it's not something that I would think of myself, but it's something that I would think, okay, this is useful, this works for me, this is very good for me, and I encourage you to use it. So it's kind of like I'm blasting probably something that somebody's already come up with, but it's something that I found has been really, really helpful for me. And so the other part is that I don't shy away from planning. Like I actually want to be a good planner, and I do make plans. I think the only thing that gets in the way is that I might not follow through with it because I want to do something more fun, and also just kind of like, especially if it's kind of like chore type stuff, that's when I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to actually do this chore because it's like it's boring, like it's a chore. So me planning is like me coming up with a plan is not the problem. It's just kind of like sticking to it. That's the problem. But I do use this thing that I've used for years. Is like a wheel of life. I don't know if you've heard it. The wheel of life.
Kind of.
Yeah, so you've got like different areas of your life, and then you set goals based on those areas. So you might have like work life or financial or health or personal development, family and
Right.
relationships.
Yeah. Okay. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I set my goals based on those areas. So I might have 1 or 2 goals for each area, and that's kind of like the the IJ box that I use. It's like I'm compartmentalizing the different areas of my life that I want to focus on, and then I stick insert goal here kind of thing.
Okay, so you got part of it for figured out, but not completely figured out. Because anti-blast is also for other people. So you're taking a concept that you're going to teach to someone else. So it doesn't have to be original, because like you said, everything's pretty much been invented already, at least concept-wise. So what kind of concept that you kind of latch into that you can see yourself teaching to other people that can help other people? Because you really believe in those systems, and you know they're life-changing.
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky in the sense that what I do for work, I have to blast. So it's like stuff that I want, because I have to like teach people how to use certain techniques. And, you know, there's certain techniques that I don't really resonate with, but I have to do it anyway. And then there's certain techniques that I actually really believe in. And so you might see me being a little bit more passionate or trying to kind of like, you know, push it a little bit more with the stuff that I believe in. So I do blast that. I do have to blast at work. I'm just probably not good at it. It's like, because I'm always asking, you know, does that make sense? Can you, because I'm like really hard at explaining it. So it's like, I'm pretty lucky because what I do for work, I have to blast. And I do see myself kind of, I guess, in some capacity, kind of going into maybe like a teaching role or a lecturing role or some kind of like public speaking where I'm like giving psychoeducation on this stuff that I really believe in at some point. But I guess with the blast last, it's always at some point, eventually, when I get around to it kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Have you tried that Toastmasters?
The what, sorry?
Have you been to Toastmasters before to do the public speaking thing?
No. No, but there is the Blast Lasters group that I want to, you know, start on a small scale.
I see.
Yeah, and in the OP group, it's like they do little challenges every week, and you have to post a video or an audio of you blasting basically, and it just gives you a little bit of practice. So I think I'll start there.
Yeah, that
and
sounds
then
good.
build my way up.
The only thing is to make sure that you are blasting purposely, not like fake blast. Like a lot of people are saying they're blasting. They're not blasting. They're using play, right? I'm like, oh, that's not blast, dude. That's like that's play. You're just sharing something that you thought about or you experienced. Like that's not blasting. Like you gotta blast is very specific. You gotta you gotta look at your type first and look at what your kind of blast you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you started, like I think for you, if you just copied like an existing system and you just teach people how it works, I think that's a good way to practice it. Like even OP,
Yeah.
if you like teach it to your friends or something, that would be like blasting. But yeah, that like yeah, please don't do the fake blast. Like I feel like it's so embarrassing. No offense to people who's trying their best. Like obviously it's good that you're at least talking, but you know I think you gotta practice like purposefully. Otherwise you're not learning. You know.
So how do I know that I'm fake blasting? Like, what can you tell me? What does that look like?
Uh well, sometimes people talk and they're like just rambling
Right.
and you know because okay when you blast it's very specific and there's an end result. Okay, whether the end result is abstract or concrete, it depends on what your function is. Your blast is anti-blast, so your blast is gonna look like the blast that ENTJs and INTJs have. So you have to watch what those guys are doing when it comes to their teaching shit and like their diagrams and shit. Like if you had a flip chart behind you and you start drawing diagrams, I think that would be like a blast. But if you just kind of like turn on the camera and start talking, I feel like you would just go on a play loop, and it
Okay.
you know like anti blast is not cool. Okay, it's the opposite of SF. Okay, that you know because SF consume is super cool. So if you're thinking that oh, you have a flip chart beside me, I'm gonna write with a marker, and that's super cringy and like lame. Guess what? Hey, you're probably on the right track. You know.
I'm doing the right thing if I hate myself.
If you feel like a little bit of a cringe inside, you're like, oh, okay, that's like the, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so like super boring, super like to the point.
Well, it
Not
doesn't have to be
really.
boring. It doesn't have to be boring. It could be mentally engaging.
Okay, but just like
But because
void of any emotions.
okay. Well, this is gonna be a little bit off tangent now, but I feel like the best blasters are not just blasting. They're using blast in play, because the people who are pure blasters are boring. But when you add play and sleep into your blast, that's when it becomes really interesting. Because like the sleep, you talk about your own personal experience, which is always good for people to hear, and then play, you make it fun, right? So yeah, when you infuse all those together, then that is like that's the best way to go about it. But I feel like if you're blast last, you got to start with the basic first, which is just like lessons, like teacher lessons. So
yeah.
and then once you get that down, then you can infuse the other shit, and then
Okay.
yeah.
So basically, just start with shapes and squares and
Yeah,
just go
like
from there.
yeah, just think of like a math teacher, right? They're like on the whiteboard and they had
Right.
so that's blast right there, right? So yeah, if you have a flip chart and you're showing something there, then you're like, I think that's best, especially your visual too, right? So I feel like that's
very, yeah.
That's gonna be like right along your alleyway. Like it's gonna be like it would be better for you to do it that way too, because you're visual, so you can show people what it looks like instead of just like telling a concept like Tai Lopez style, where he just does squiggly lines on a thing. Like, what the fuck? You're like, what the fuck is a squiggly line?
Is that like NF? Is like NF blast? It's like really like hippie type shit. Is that what it is, or is that just like fake?
Oh, you mean like the INFJs and stuff?
Like like the squiggly lines? Is that him doing like fake blasting or what?
Well, that's disrespecting the sensory. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I think I do this at work. Like we do use a lot of like with the psychoeducation that we give. It's like you have to have tools. You have to have like because it's like you're giving people self-help materials, and a lot of it is based on like tools. And sometimes I have to sit there and explain, okay, this is how this works. So I do get some practice with that, but I just didn't realize that was NT busting. So I guess I should focus more on trying to explain that better if I'm going to work on my blast.
Yeah, and also with NT blast, you have to make sure that the other person you're teaching understands what you're saying. So you have to put yourself in their shoes and be like, okay, like record yourself and then watch yourself teach yourself, right? And if you watch yourself teach yourself and you don't learn anything, you're not blasting properly, because then you learn nothing, right? You're like, I don't even know what. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
But that might be a problem because I already know what I know.
you do, but like, it's okay. I've made videos in the past where I purposely made them because I know I'm gonna forget. Like, so I made them, and then later on I watched it. I'm like, oh wow, this is like I learned something for myself, myself. So like, think of something that is good, but you're probably gonna forget, and just like teach it to yourself.
Okay, so like have a moment of insight, and then record myself doing it, and then come back to it later. And if I understand it again, then I've hit the jackpot. Is that what you're saying?
The good thing about blasting too is it validates if you really know something or not. Because if you can't blast it, you probably don't know it as well as you think you do. So it's a good like you would be shocked how much you would learn when you blast. Because like I've made like those videos that are what do you call them, like explainer videos on how each animals work, and when I started putting them together, I was like, oh my god, I'm learning so much. Because I thought I knew more than I did, when I was like consuming the information. But then when I started blasting, I'm like, holy crap, there's a lot of missing gaps here,
Yeah.
So, that's just being info dominant, right? Because consume your energy dominant.
Yeah.
But you're not info dominant. So you might think you know a lot, but then when you start blasting it, you're like, oh my god, there's all these holes missing. It's to validate your knowledge, essentially.
Yeah. I always feel like I don't know anything. I always feel like, I think that's part of the blasted disease, is that I don't feel like I know enough compared to everybody else that I'm looking at, who is obviously really, really knowledgeable and confident speaking. So it's like, for me, it's like I never feel like I'm as good to sit there and start teaching people stuff that somebody can do a better job than me. And it's like, yeah. So I think that it's part of the blasted disease. It's like never feeling like I know enough for me to sit, like, who wants to listen to me? I don't think I know enough. So why would anybody else pay attention to me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate to what you said. Like I felt insecure many times before, where I felt like, like you said, like someone knows this better than me. Like, what's the point of me teaching this? Or someone can present this better than me. Like, what's the point of me teaching this? Um, but I think the two things that you did not think about, and also like for me, I never thought about until like later on, was like, number one, the messenger matters. So yeah, the other person might, the other person that you're thinking of that can teach it better than you might be able to teach it better than you. This doesn't mean shit, because someone might like, you know, SF, like consume, right? They might like to listen it from you instead. Even if that person like knows that the other person is probably like, let's say, smarter than you in this topic, they like you better. Like the you know, so they will listen to you more because they like you. And number two, I remember Dave saying this, which resonated with me a lot, as he said, yeah, okay, so let's say you're level 30, right? Let's say you're 40-year-old, right? And then so your knowledge is obviously going to be better than when you were 30-year-old. But guess what? If you're 30 years old, can you teach things to 18-year-olds? Yeah, you can. Fuck yeah, you can, because those 18-year-olds, they don't know shit, right? Right? So you're not going to be teaching to people higher level than you or the same level as you. You're going to teach people at like lower level than you. So yeah, you're right. You know, like those people probably are better than you at teaching that subject that you know. Doesn't matter. There's people who are younger than you who like you better than that other person, because maybe that other person who's teaching that stuff might be lame, boring, they have no life. You know, like, no offense, I'm not saying what type they are. INTJs, just kidding. Just kidding.
Wink, wink.
Just kidding. But like,
shout out to INTJs.
Yeah. Only love for you guys. But like, you know, like after shout. No, but like, no, I'm just saying, you know, you get the point, you know. So
yeah, no, I definitely get the point. I think that's really good advice, actually, because it's like, because I can see that in myself. I can see like somebody, like if I put a line of like 10 people all telling me the same message, but I'm only going to hear it from somebody who I kind of like either resonate with, or somebody who I like, or somebody who I'm willing to listen to. So I guess that makes sense. So okay, yeah, that's really good advice.
Like one last example for this, I run a travel blog, right? I have a travel blog and a travel YouTube channel.
Okay.
That's like my passion is travel, right? So I started a membership website in my travel travel platform, and I always tell people, I'm like, hey guys, just a heads up, I'm not the best at this. Like I like, honestly, there's a lot of people better that know more than me than this.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. Like I just tell them, right? Like info dominant. Like, and then yeah, you know, I've had people who I probably perceive as an ESFP that are members in my of that travel membership, because I teach people how to get the best travel deals. And then they'll be like, yeah, we know they're probably better than you, but we like you more, you know. So it's like I'm like, oh, you know, we like you more, we trust you more. It's so that there is that factor, right? So, you know, like, so every time I feel insecure about something, like I'm like, I don't know enough, you know, like
right.
Yeah. It's like, no, those people, they want to hear from me, you know, like they don't, you know. So okay, let's talk about you being energy dominant, since we're in this topic. So we were talking about you not being info dominant for the blast off, but you are good at energy management, because your play and sleep is in the middle. So talk about like knowing how to expend your energy and knowing when to hit the brakes, and, you know, take a break and chill out and just relax.
Yeah, that was another thing that I was surprised about, that I'm play over sleep, because I'm very, very strict with my sleep, with my energy. Like, I'm very aware of how much energy I need to expend for this certain amount. Like, if I have a social gathering, I'm very aware of, okay, I'm only going to be able to last for about an hour or two, or if there's somebody I know who I'm about to speak to who I know is going to drain me within 20 minutes, then I know I know that I have to, like, I have a window of opportunity for us to get the best out of this situation before I have to kind of like dip out. So it's like I'm very aware of how much energy I have to spend for this kind of like particular person. I don't know if you've heard of the spoons theory.
No, you can tell me.
Yeah.
Here, you tell me.
So this is something that I use at work as well. This is like for people who have like pain, chronic pain, and they struggle with getting things done. So it's like you start at the start of the day, you start with 20 spoons, and then you allocate for all the different activities that you do, you allocate how many spoons that's going to require for you to, like, that's going to take. And so when you're doing your daily activities, you say, let's say I'm going shopping and that's going to take 2 spoons out of me. You have to make sure that at the end of the day, you've done everything that you need to do, that you plan to do, but make sure that you have enough spoons to be able to do those things. So it's kind of like that. So it's like, I'm very aware of how much energy I have for the day, depending on, how, what I've been doing all week, or, the amount of rest I have. So it's like, I'm very conscious of, if I'm going to go out today, depending on the energy that I have this week and how much energy I've expended today as well, like, I'm only going to have this amount of energy left to interact. So I need to make sure I have a escape plan for me to be able to get out, so I can not overexpend myself, because I still have to do the next, this, that, and the other the next day. So I don't want to then go and do that thing next day, but I don't have any energy to do it because I've overspent my energy doing that thing the first day. So it's like, it's kind of like that.
Your blast was interesting there with the spoons. That
was really bad.
No, it's not bad, but I thought it was interesting because it came from an ESFP. So you were using concrete terms to explain it, like spoons.
Oh, right.
Like you were using spoons, right? So yeah. I can see it. But like an INTJ or ENTJ would just be like squiggly lines and shit. Like, like what is that squiggly line? So for you, use a spoon analogy, which is good.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit confused though. There's some stuff it's a good analogy. I like it. But so is the spoon inside for the whole week? Is it just per day?
Per day. So like you have. Sorry.
Sorry, just info dominant here. You have 20 spoons per day, and then and each task is like a specific amount of spoon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say I start off with 20 spoons at the start of each day. I know that for me to go shopping, that's going to require 5 spoons. For me to speak to this really like energy vampire for at least 20 minutes, that's going to require 7 spoons.
Oh dear God.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to then do shopping and speaking to this energy vampire and then going on like a hour-long jog all in the same day, because I don't have enough spoons to be able to do that. So I need to kind of like spread it out. So it's just kind of, that's the theory. Just I know how much energy I have, and I know how much energy it takes for me to do a certain thing, and I'm going to ensure that I have enough energy for me to be able to do those things if I want to then do the other things too. But that all depends on if you've got other things to do. If you have like a free day the next day, then you don't really need to do that, because you can expend all the energy you want and then spend the whole day sleeping, kind of thing. But it's like, if you have a full busy week and you know that you're going to expend a lot of energy really quickly, then you have to be pretty organized with how you spend your time, like how you spend your energy.
That's so crazy that there is such thing as energy vampire that takes away spoons. It's so real too. It's like messed up, like there are such thing as energy vampires that like just destroys your energy. And you're like spent after, and you can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, like I know people who used to take my energy within like 10 minutes and I'd be gone, and I'd be like, okay, I need to go. And then there's people that I can last for like 7 hours. It all just depends on the vibe, the vibe that the person is giving, or just kind of, I guess, the conversation that we have. Some conversations are a little bit more engaging for me. Some conversations I have with certain people, they give me more energies, and some conversations with people they take away. So it's different factors.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I remember I took a train when I was backpacking in Europe between Serbia and Belgrade to Montenegro.
Wow.
It was like an 11-hour train ride, and in my train car there was this dude that I don't know what type he is. I don't know. He's sleep guy for sure. But like, yeah, at first I was like paranoid, like this guy's gonna, if I can't leave my stuff here, this guy's gonna steal my shit. Like that's how I don't know. I'm just paranoid, right? Because there's a lot of theft in Europe.
Yeah, of course.
And then like, because I'm in Canada, so here like I left my cell phone in the bus before, and someone returned my cell phone to me. So in Canada,
I love Canada. You guys are super honest. Sorry.
Yeah, well, more honest than not, but like it's pretty good here, right? Like I can't I could put stuff in my pocket and I know no one's gonna pickpocket me, Like if I go to Europe, I can't do that shit. Like my stuff is gonna get stolen for sure.
No, you can't. No.
Yeah, and that made me paranoid, right? But anyways, I ended up talking to the guy, and we ended up talking for like 9 hours nonstop, and I was like energized, and And yeah,
Right?
so I was like, holy shit. And there are people that you could talk to for like the whole
Yeah,
day. And you could talk about
absolutely.
like never ending, and it's you feel good the whole time. And yeah, like you said, 10 minutes, the energy vampire, you're done.
Yeah,
Your whole day's ruined.
exactly. Exactly. Like I have this guy who's like part of my friendship circle, but he's like he just makes me feel drained. And I know that if I get a call from him, I have to make sure that I have enough energy during, like I can only speak to him at night when I know that like it's my time to rest, because I know that within 10 minutes like I'm gone. Like I just want to leave, like it's time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely are people who you might be able to have like a 9 hour conversation with, and some people you can only take 10 minutes tops.
So for those people that you can talk to all day, better start in the morning, because if you stay at night, you're not gonna be sleeping. And then, but if you know you need to go to bed, talk to the vampire, and you'll be out cold.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a really good sleep medication right
Yeah,
there.
better than melatonin or anything like you can
Yeah,
take.
yeah, exactly,
Good shit. Uh,
exactly.
okay, so I have a few more questions for you, Maria, and then we'll wrap up the interview.
Cool.
So last comment about the whole energy dominant thing. You said that your energy preservation feels stronger than your energy expenditure, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe that's because you have double masculine sleep and your play is double feminine. So that could be why it's like so in your face. But let's talk about your double feminine play. So it's ST fast.
Yeah.
It's reporter like play. Dave and Shan in the classes, Dave always does like reporter play. Like he'll pretend he has like a reporter voice when he's like making fun of someone. Uh, so how do you use your ST play personally? Like how do you like to get facts from people and bug people for facts? Do you like to, and how do you joke around with people using ST play?
Yeah, so in terms of the first part, I definitely am more conscious of the fact that I'm drilling people for facts. Like, I'm always like, tell me what to do. Like, tell me what I'm supposed to do, but like, tell me the specific, tell me exactly what you want me to do. And it's like, I can feel myself really just making sure that, you don't add any like waffle, you don't add any like extra stuff. Like, I don't want you to beat around the bush. Like, just tell me exactly what the details are, what I need to do exactly in like an ST report way. So I think in terms of that, in terms of how I joke with people, um, I don't know. I'm probably less conscious of this. I think I have a very like dry sense of humor. Like I'm very I would say my sense of humor is more like ironic, and like I'm really into like observational humor. Like my favorite comedians are like observational, like do a lot of observational humor. So it's kind of like things that are real and true, but like because it's real and true, it's funny because it's so like true and real. So I think my sense of humor is a bit dry and it's a bit more straightforward, straight to the point. And it's kind of things that people I guess might not find funny, but because it's so real and true, like I just find it really funny.
Do you like slapstick humor?
No,
No.
no, I'm not a fan of slapstick humor. I just, yeah, I'm not a fan of slapstick humor.
Okay.
And like, I give you an example of some of my favorite comedians. Like, I don't know if you know Louis C.K.
No.
Louis C.K. Okay, he's a good one. And then there's people like Ricky Gervais. If you know Ricky
Yeah,
Gervais,
yeah, he's funny. Yeah.
yeah, big fan of his.
Only because he's offensive. Like I like,
Exactly.
yeah, like when he does those I think Golden Globes thing where like
Yeah.
where he offends all the actors, especially like what's his name? The INTP guy, the guy from Forrest Gump. What's his name again? I forget his name.
Oh, I want to forget his name. Tom Hanks.
Yeah, like he offended him
Yeah.
so bad in one of those like things that he was saying, and I was like, God, this is so good. Like he's just
Yeah, but I like it because it's not like he's pointing out anything that isn't true.
yeah, yeah,
That's what makes me laugh.
yeah, it's truthful attacks, but in a funny way. And
Yeah, exactly.
like
And
he
yeah, sorry, Karen.
he likes to burn IPs a lot. Like those people who would be the most. Like I saw him like burning like um, what's his name? The guy from Apple. Who's the Apple CEO? I don't remember names of people. Like what's his name? Something Cook. What's his name?
From Apple? Did you say
Yeah.
Apple?
Who's that CEO of Apple? What's his name again?
Oh, what, the one who died or the?
No, not Steve Jobs. No,
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
no. Tim
No.
Cook is that his name? Tim Cook.
Oh, okay. I
Is that
don't
his name?
know. I don't really know.
Yeah. Anyways,
Probably.
he attacked him too in one of those the one of those award shows, and he had the same face as Tom Hanks, and like when he attacked them, like, oh, the tribe's getting me, like.
Yeah.
But it's true though, because he was saying like, oh, you're trying to help the world, but you are doing like you're paying people slave labor or whatever, like, so yeah. Okay,
Exactly.
I see your humor now.
Yeah, it's always stuff that's like really, really true, and it's like things that someone needs to say.
Yeah.
But like, because I like it because it's so daring that somebody had the nerve to just point it out.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes me laugh.
Yeah, I was apparently Hollywood hates Ricky Gervais, but like,
Yeah.
but they keep hiring him because ratings are up the roof when he's on stage. So like they love the money more than they hate him. So it's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's my kind of humor.
Yeah. All right. Your play is double feminine, so you're very movable then when it comes to like the play. Like you're kind of go with the flow when it comes to this kind of stuff then, would you say?
Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier, in terms of what that looks like in real time. I think when it comes to being movable with that, it's like I can see myself, I guess I'm kind of a tester in that way as well, in the sense that I'm happy kind of like, you teach me something, you teach me something, you teach me something. And it might not be something that I am necessarily gonna, take on, like use in my own life, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts anyway. So it's kind of like, I'm very open to hearing other people's perspectives, other people's ideas and things like that. Even if I don't like you, I think you have something to like, something good to teach me, basically.
Right.
So it's like, I know a lot of people, some people don't like to be told, like given advice or being like mansplaining in a way, but I don't mind it because it's like, I might not use it there and then, but I think you have something useful to say, so I'm going to at least hear you out, kind of thing. So I don't mind people giving me unsolicited advice because it might actually turn out to be useful advice.
Yeah, that's very double-decided review. Like, I don't need to like you, but if your stuff is useful, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I can definitely feel myself in that sense. But I think the flip side to that is that sometimes I can be quite dismissive of other people's ideas as well. It's like, especially if because like with the T, it's like I'm seeing the spectrum of whose ideas are better, right? Even if I don't want to pay attention, like sometimes sometimes that comes into my like field of awareness. And so it's like, if I think that, your general, like less than this other person, I might kind of not pay attention to you. And I'd be like, okay, I want to hear from this guy.
Yeah.
Like, pipe down, I want to hear from this guy, kind of thing. So it can, like, in the worst manifestation of it can be quite dismissive and insensitive, I guess, in a way.
I guess it depends on if you project. So it seems like you would listen to someone if A, you like them, or B, you might not like them, but they're very knowledgeable. But if they're not in those two categories, you might just dismiss them.
Yeah. In a nutshell, yeah. I'd say, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd hit the jackpot if it's like the same person with both.
Yeah. That's the ideal world, is the person likable and also an expert, because that's hard to find, right?
Yeah.
Because you might like someone, but they don't know much, but you still hear them because you like them.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
But I can still humor the guy who doesn't know as much and that I don't like. I mean, I'm happy to humor him because he might then come up with something that I didn't know. And that always happens to me all the time. It's like, I might not think I'm going to like what you have to say, but I'm always surprised. So I can still humor them. Why am I talking like they're lepers? But like, I can still humor like somebody that I don't like who's not as knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That has happened to me before. I felt flat on my face where I thought someone was an idiot. Turns out they were really smart. And yeah. Now,
Exactly.
I'm holding my tongue now before I.
Exactly. It's embarrassing.
I know, it's so embarrassing. I felt like
I'm the idiot.
I felt like such a retard. Like after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Last two questions, and then we'll wrap the interview. So first one is, what do you think of the saying for EPs, where if you don't control yourself, someone else will control you. So you better be responsible for control, or someone else will take responsible for the control, and you're not gonna like it. You know?
Yeah, I think that yeah, I definitely, that resonates with me. Like I'm very I think this is another reason why I thought I was like savior control, is because I do like to control my own life. I don't want to put my life in the hands of someone else, and I don't like when people tell me what to do. So if I don't have my shit together, like if I don't know myself, if I'm not responsible for myself, then somebody else is going to do it for me, and I don't want that to happen, because you might be an idiot, and I don't want you to control my life when you're an idiot. So yeah, I would say that resonates with me.
Gotcha. And before we wrap up the interview, do you have any last minute question for me? And then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm having this whole conversation with you. I don't even know what your type is.
Oh, you don't know what my type is?
No.
You know I'm an ENFP, right? Because the channel.
Oh yeah. I know. No, that would be super awkward. Oh my god. No, I know you're an EFP. I know that for starts.
But yeah, no, I'm a jumper ENFP. I'm NETE, play, blast, consume, sleep, masculine,
Okay.
feminine. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel like you resonate a lot with some of the things that I said because you're an EP, or is there quite a lot of subtle differences?
The general EP problems I do, like don't control me, bro, kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff we resonated with during this interview, like, hold your tongue because otherwise we come across an idiot. Like, yeah, like that for sure. Like when you said that, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah,
I've done that way too much. Where like I thought someone was a moron and I just fell out of my place. I'm not gonna do it anymore. Like everyone has something to share. Everything has something value to provide.
Exactly.
Just because they seem like an idiot at first doesn't mean they are an idiot. Just don't be so judgmental. Just hear them out first, and then make a judgment after you've heard them out. Then if they are really an idiot, then okay, they can be an idiot after. But like they can be an idiot on the front end. Don't judge a book by its cover or whatever. So
100%.
that part I resonate with. Yeah, I'm not sure if anything else. I'm trying to think what else like about your life experience that resonated with me. It's mostly the EP stuff. But the thing is, your lead sensor, right? I'm lead intuition. So my problem is gonna be sensory problems, while your problem is gonna be like intuition problems. So, like for me, planning is not a problem. The problem. So when you said earlier that adhering to the plan is your problem, I think for me, it's that it's not like I don't like to adhere to plans. It's that sometimes when I do get to the moment where I'm supposed to execute on a plan, something better comes along, and I need to pivot, or it's not smart, because it's like with people with NI, they have problems with pivoting, right? They can't like switch plans because they've invested all their time and energy into this plan that by the time it's time to execute, that's all they know. But really, what if by the time you execute, that plan is no longer the best course of action to take, right? So I do switch plans, but there have been times when, but I do follow the general plan. Like I took a year off to go backpacking, for example, and I wanted to visit all the continents. Like I wanted to go to Europe, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and South America.
That's cool.
And I did allocate like certain amount of time for each places, and I did follow that to the T. Like I did spend like let's say I was in Europe for 4 months, I was in Asia for 4 months, South America 3 months, Africa for a month, Middle East for 2 weeks. I did follow that plan to a T. I didn't deviate from that, but when I went to travel to those countries, that's when I was a little bit more flexible. Like for example, like okay, in this country, let's say I originally planned 7 days, but if I went there and I thought, okay, this place sucks, I would just leave and go somewhere else, Or if I went to a country I really loved it, okay, I'll stay a little bit longer and I'll take it away from another country. So there's some flexibility there when it comes to planning, but I do follow the general plan, but with like room for flexibility.
Okay.
So I feel like maybe you're doing something similar where you do have a plan, but it's flexible if something better comes up.
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely relate to everything you just said. It's like I don't have trouble making a plan and kind of like following it to some extent. But like you said, if there's something better comes along, then I might then put that to one side and drop that and then go and have a look at this for a second. But then I'll remember that I need to come back kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
By the
same
way,
issues.
you're British, right? But you're also African. But which part of Africa is your family from?
How did you know that?
I don't know. Surprise.
Oh my God. How did you know? I don't think I've ever told anybody that in the group. That's
That what?
that I'm African.
Oh, I mean, you look African.
Oh, right. Okay.
I look Asian, right? Like I'm like, oh my God, you knew I was Asian. Like,
Well, no, but I mean, like, there's like, there's obvious, and then there's like, subtle hints. You know what I mean? Like, I might not be African.
yeah. No, I'm just
But
curious. No, which part of Africa is your family from? I'm just curious.
I mean, you're lucky that I am African, but if I wasn't, that would have been super like awkward.
Well, I think it's only awkward for single deciders because because I travel to Africa a lot, so I'm curious to see the different cultures between different African countries. But
Right.
sometimes I notice that some like Black people get weird about this. I don't know why. Not the double decider ones, the single decider ones. They get weird about it. Like I went to a massage therapist before, and I said, "Oh, which part of Africa is your family from?" So I said to him, right, like your ancestors, right? It's not like a racist question. I'm just curious. Like
Yeah.
I like geography, right? And he started getting weird about it. He's like, I'm not African. I'm Jamaican. I'm Jamaican, Like, I'm like, yeah, but all Jamaican people came from Africa. So,
Yeah.
like, what is your,
Oh.
this is not a racial question. I'm talking about like geography, and history, you know? So, and he got really weird about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not, okay, you know what? I don't even know what to say to this situation. You're just being weird, like, okay, I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. I was seriously asking like a geography and history question, like not like a racial, no, like what the hell? So
Yeah, it's a very like sensitive question to ask about, because you're right. A lot of Black people don't like the assumption that everyone is African. I mean, I happen to be African, so it's fine, and I'm not racially sensitive, so, but yeah, I mean, that could have gone a different way if I was a different person.
well, I feel like I can get away with it because I'm also a minority, so it's also like it's more okay if I ask that question. Because if someone goes up to me and be like, "What kind of Asian are you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm Chinese."
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like offended by it. Like, yeah, I'm Chinese. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's because there's a lot of pride in like Black cultures, in that they might technically originate from Africa, but because you grew up in a different culture completely,
right,
there's a lot of tribalism there, especially between Africans and Jamaicans. There is a lot of tribalism and pride. So it's like the sensitivity is coming from the fact that you have this identity, I am African, or I'm not African, or I'm Jamaican, or whatever. And it's like, historically, yes, we all technically, all of us come from Africa, but like, I'm not African because this is my culture and I'm very proud of it. So I think it's a pride issue.
Yeah, I think when they get offended, it's from a nationality standpoint that you get offended from, because I might go to like the US and ask them, "Oh, what kind of African are you?" And they might say, "I've never been to Africa. I'm American." Like, no, but that my question is not nationality. I'm talking about like 23andMe test, like DNA, like DNA. Like I'm curious about your DNA. Where you came from. Like one of my friends in the group. I don't know if you know Otim. He's a yeah. So he's Black and he lives in the UK, but he's born in Uganda, but he grew up in Botswana, and now he lives in the UK. And I'm like cool, because I want to know where he's from, because I travel a lot to Africa. I've been to Botswana before and I've been to Uganda, and I'm like, yeah, and I kind of like, cool, that's awesome.
That's nice. Yeah, I wasn't born in the UK. I was born in Zimbabwe, but I grew up here. So I came here when I was 7. So I'm actually Zimbabwean. But I grew up here.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
Yeah, and Botswana is really close to Zimbabwe, so we're, me and him are practical cousins. So.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. yeah, I remember I was traveling in Zambia before, and
Oh.
I took the long bus from Zambia to Namibia. And when I
Mhm.
was crossing over to Namibia, there was like some Zimbabwe people in the lineup, and then I was talking to one of them, and then I said to him, I think he got like riled up at me, and I said to him, so I was like, so, some people in Zambia told me uh, that people in Zimbabwe have no jobs, and then and he and he started getting like upset at me. He's like,
Oh
oh,
my God.
and he's like, oh, I said there's jobs in Zambia too. Like he's like those Zambians, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, I'm like,
You definitely touched a nerve there.
and I'm like, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just curious because I didn't know, right? I was just like,
You
I was like,
definitely touched a nerve.
yeah,
It's a pride thing. It really is a pride thing. It's because we're very proud of our like country, and but it's like, but again, it's just that whole issue of like we don't want people to see what we're, you know, the extent of the poverty there, even though it's clearly staring in your face. But it's like
yeah,
it is a deep rooted pride thing.
I see, I
And
see.
yeah, and pride is very easy to like trigger. So that's probably why you had that reaction.
Well, he wasn't mad at me, but he was like upset at the Zambians for them saying that to me. You know, it's like, how dare they tell you that? You know, like they don't know anything about those Zambians. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just like curious. I'm just trying to like understand the political situation in those areas. You know,
Yeah. I don't know what it's like in like Asian cultures, but there is a lot of tribalism between different African cultures as well. So you might hear a lot of like um different, you know, African people trashing each other.
oh, is that
Um
right?
yeah, especially Nigerians. Like we all decided that we hate Nigerians. But like Nigerians
But
are,
you're so far away from Nigeria, though. You're like,
and but it's because they have like the most pride. So it's like we've all collectively talking behind their back, like, oh my God, everyone hates Nigerians. Meanwhile, the Nigerians are like, so if you were to think of it in OP, like um Nigerians have like the like savior DI, right? They have
yeah.
the what's it called? The what's the word I'm looking for? Um yeah, never mind. So they're like the savior Ds, and then everybody like the rest of the tribe, the rest of the Africans is kind of like talking behind their back, like oh my God, look at these DIs, really selfish, think they're the best, but they're not really checking there kind of thing. So
Oh,
it's that
you mean
whole,
they're like IT? They're like so into themselves that
yeah,
they don't look at the spectrum and
they don't look at the spectrum, yeah. So it's like we've all banded it together. It's
yeah.
like an unspoken rule of like, yeah, it's quite funny. But I don't know what it's like in Asian cultures. I don't know if you guys have that or it's like,
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It's super racist. It's like horrible.
oh,
Yeah, it's definitely horrible. Like I was born in the Philippines, right? I'm Chinese though, but
oh well,
yeah. So I don't know how to speak Chinese because I was born in the Philippines. So I can speak Tagalog, which is the Philippine language, and it's super racist there. Like in my family, if you marry a Filipino person, you're kicked out of the family. Um, and then if you have like if you my generation, they don't do this anymore, but in the previous generations you were not even allowed to eat on the same table as a Filipino. And I thought that
that
was like,
bad.
I thought it was like the most fucked up thing. Like even growing up,
Yeah.
like I was 3 years old and I was already aware this is wrong, you know. Like I
Oh
was
my
already
God.
aware, like, hey, you know what, like they're just people like us, we're all like humans, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't know where this like stupid racism is coming from, you know. Like what, like not like I said, my generation is fine now. Like a lot of my cousins, they're married to a Filipino person, and it's okay. Like their parents are grumbling about it. You know, like, oh yeah, why did this person marry this Filipino? Blah blah blah. You know what?
Yeah. Like still making comments here and there.
Yeah, but it's not like in like they're not gonna get kicked out of the family anymore. It's more like the parents are grumbling about it, and I can tell by the next generation is probably gonna be gone. This like racist thought is gonna be obsolete.
Yeah.
So um yeah, for sure, there's definitely a lot of racism like you know that's happening. There's a lot of racism towards Chinese people too. Like in Indonesia, they tried to kill all the Chinese people at one point.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
in yeah, so you know the Vietnamese people, they don't like the Cambodians. You know, there's like they had a war before. You know, so uh, there's definitely like racism for sure. So I think it's not like a black, Asian, or white thing. I think it's like a human thing.
Yeah,
Like
I think so.
yeah, in Europe, when I went to Europe, like they all hated each other too. Yeah, like I was in like Switzerland, they're like, oh, the fuck those Germans, right? I go to Germany, it's like, oh, wait, he don't like those Swiss people, you know, like, like
Yeah.
like, oh, like I go to the UK, so all those French people are idiots, like it's you go to France, like, oh, we hate Americans, like it's like it's
yeah, tribalism everywhere. Like it's a really like you're right, it is definitely a human experience because everywhere you go there is like tribalism and like patriotism and stuff like that, and it just runs so deep. But like I feel like some places are getting better at, like you said, the different generations are getting better at eradicating that, but I think some places are still far behind, still very much centuries behind.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like about living in Canada. It's very multicultural here. Like growing up, I had friends from different backgrounds, and I tell racist jokes to all of them, and and well, including myself, and I don't feel like, and we say it as a joke because we're all friends, and it's not a big deal, because I think when you make a big deal about something, that's when it's bad, right? Like, so we don't make the big deal about it. We tell each other racist jokes, and it's just like for all good fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like like I have friends from the Middle East, and I'll make a joke about them, like blowing themselves up, like it's just like like it's like it's like it's, and they don't get offended at it, then they'll make fun of me,
Yeah.
let's say some racist joke to me like one Halloween, the police saw my group of friends, and they're like, "What is this? United Nations?" It's like, and
Oh my god, that's
I thought it was like the best. I thought it was like the best compliment ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it shows how much diversity there is in your friendship group.
yeah, and then you go to a restaurant, and everyone's sitting together. Like I'm friends with like different Asian groups, uh, Middle East people, whatnot, and it's not weird. Like I go to Middle East restaurants, blah blah blah. We don't have many black people in Canada though. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know why. It's weird. Maybe it's too cold. I don't know. Like,
I think black people tend to navigate towards places where there's already a lot of black people. I think that's why.
yeah, so, the weird thing about Canada is there's a lot of Asians here. Like one of my friends, when he first moved to Canada, he's like, "Where's the white people?" like, he's looking around his neighborhood, right? He's like, they're all like Chinese people, Indian people from India, and he's like, where the hell are the white people?
I think it's nice to have a friendship group where like people aren't racially sensitive, because then you can integrate and you learn so much from each other. So, it's good that you have a friendship group where you guys can banter like that.
Well, I mean, in the city I live in, it's such a high Asian population that every group of Asians have one token white person. and when you go to a restaurant, it's not even a joke. I'm not even joking. Like you look at other tables, everyone has like one white.
Like the token white guy.
Yeah, and then like my friend, we brought my friend, our token white guy, to a restaurant. Yeah. And his name's Andrew. I'm like, "Hey Andrew, look around. What do you notice?" And he's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" He's like laughing his ass off, right? And then the weird thing, they hate each other too. Like you can't have a second white person. They like feeling like special. It's like, yeah, I'm the token, And,
so that's not just I guess token ethnic minority thing then. So I guess if you put yourself in a situation where it's just literally you're the only one of your race, and then somebody else comes along, there's always going to be like, "Hey, this spot's already been filled," kind of thing.
Yeah, they don't like it. I'm like we're like, "Hey, no, we're really diverse. Let's go bring in everyone." They're like, "No. I'm the white guy.
I'm the white designated guy. White guy here."
Like, okay.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's quite refreshing actually to know that that's like the roles have reversed in that sense. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I think this is why Canada's like the promised land, because it's supposed to be really multicultural. So everyone thinks Canada's like, especially because you can literally leave your house unlocked and nobody, it's not just a low risk of being burgled. But yeah, Canada seems like the promised land.
I feel like Canada spoiled me a bit about multiculturalism. How it's like here it's not a big deal, because when I went backpacking, I was surprised how many people didn't even refer to me by my name or try to get to know my name. They just called me China, right? Yeah, like
wow.
I went to a country called Guyana, which is like mostly black people, and they're like, "China, get in the car, China."
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
No, it's okay. I'm not. No, I thought it was funny too. I was like laughing too. Right? I didn't feel like they were being racist. Really, they don't know better. They don't know better. And then they're like I took a shared van. It was like 19 black people and like just me Asian.
Just you.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I thought it was like an interesting experience. And then like we would use the washroom, right? And then like if I was too slow, the black people were like, "Hurry up, China! Get in the car, China!
Oh
sit there, China!" And I was like, "Huh, this is and then
I love the confidence.
What's that?
I love the confidence.
Yeah. I'm like, huh. And then like I'm like, so this is kind of weird.
I know.
and then like, and then I was in France. I was in Nice,
Yeah.
and I stayed in this hostel, and it was a Turkish guy, and he
Mm.
kept calling me China too. It's like, hey China. I'm like, what?
So that's the universal name for everybody who looks like you, basically.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? Like I'm like, why am I China? Like, I was more confused than anything, like
I feel like there's like a lack of that just shows there's like a lack of education because there's obviously other Asian countries like so it's like but China's like the umbrella term. It's like the umbrella. So you're the like China's like the umbrella representing all Asians basically.
yeah. So if you look at my travel blog, and I made a blog post about my trip in Rwanda, and for my headline picture, I used a picture of this Rwandan guy who went up to me and my sisters and my girlfriend, and we were in a food court, right? So he was the owner of the restaurant, and he wanted to take a picture of us. And you know what picture he took with us? He's like this.
Oh my god.
He's like, let's take a picture together.
No, you didn't. Oh
yeah.
my god. That is so awkward. How do you even react to that kind of situation? Like
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to think in this situation.
I don't think there's any rules for this. So like, what do you do?
I don't think he's being racist too, because I don't think he knows better. Because he was so he's so happy to meet us. He actually gave us the best compliment I've ever heard too. Like my girlfriend loves the compliment he gave us, even though he was doing this shit. Like he went up to us and then he said, what did he say? Oh, he said, you China people are different. You have he said you have a China face but African body. And
oh my god!
We're like,
that's a compliment. That's a really good compliment.
We work out, right? So we're pretty like we're not like skinny ass like people, but they're like, and we're like, huh? That's a nice old thing. Well, that's a really good compliment. That's a nice.
Yeah, I think you were halfway in there. Like
my girlfriend loves the compliment. It's like, yeah, African body, like.
I think that's your initiation into the tribe, right there. Like you're halfway in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, I gotta get going. I have an appointment coming up, but this was been a very fun interview.
Yeah, it's great.
So, thanks
for coming. Having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, see you around the group, Maria.
Bye. Yeah, bye.